In this video, we're going to take our newly converted scale model dimensions, as we just did in the previous video, and we're going to then take those measurements and draw out our floor plan onto this piece of MDF. This is going to be your floor. And this is what they do in actual construction. They literally draw out the floor plans on the surface of the floor, and they know that's exactly where the walls are going to be placed. So we're going to take the overall dimensions and then we're going to draw it on here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, we know that the overall dimensions is going to be 40 centimeters, that's 8 meters by, in this case, it's 30. In some of you have 35, maybe 40, depends on your dimensions. Okay, so we'll just do it according to this. So you know it's 40 by 30, and I'm going to draw that onto my board. Each one of you will have one of these, and so we're going to have to take our scale, and as I show here, it's best to use the 50 mil or 60 centimeter scale. All right, and then we're going to measure it. Now this is where accuracy comes in. Make sure you take your time and have accurate measurements. So make sure when you start to measure, it's right on the edge there. I put my finger there so it doesn't go over, all right, or short of it. And then I put a little mark right there, 40. I know that's where the length goes. And then what we like to do is actually use a square. In the square, you can get an idea this is going to be a square, and then finish drawing it out with your actual ruler. Line it up with the line you started. We know that's a square line, and that way you know that this whole line right here is 90 degrees square. That's what we're looking at in all construction unit, whatever we're making, products, houses, whatever. We want to make sure they're very nice and square. All right. So I know this is the length of my house. Now I'm going to go this way, and I know it's going to be 30. So we'll mark it here. I just put a little mark there, and then I'll take my square. I'll start the line. Now another way to do that, if you don't have a square, what you do is you make two marks right here, and then you mark it at the other end. And I know that way it's square because I'm doing it parallel with both sides. And you can also, especially if long pieces, this is a good way to do it. And you've got the outside of your wall right there. That's going to be cut out with a bandsaw, by the way. So, and then the remaining material, what we'll use it for is for the plinth. And I know the plinth will be, let's see, what do we say? If it's a meter, then we know it's 5 centimeters. If you have a plinth less half a meter, then we know it's 2.5. And so we can go, we're 25 mil, and then we can mark this out here, 25, and we can mark these pieces and utilize this piece of wood, okay, for the plinth material. And mark it out again, and we'll probably take this on the bandsaw, which we'll teach you in another video or another lesson. And you can see I'm laying out what is my plinth. So we have plinth, and I'll mark this out, okay, plinth. And then I can also mark it out here too. So this will give you some measurements and some marking out. Again, I always do both sides because I know then it'll run parallel. Because if you just try to draw a line and think it's going to be square, it doesn't always square. And then we'll do one more because I know I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll make another one. And that way here is 25. And you can see I'm laying all this out. All right. So once I got this cut out, make sure you hold tight and once we get ready to cut this out on the bandsaw, it'll all come off nicely. So here's my house. I got my plinth here, and I like to mark the pieces because sometimes they get mixed up, and you might want to put your name on each one of those because otherwise they go missing. All right, and it's always it's just a habit. When somebody picks up a piece, they know you've identified it. Now, we've got our overall dimensions. We've got 40 by 30, as you can see here. All right, now first thing we did, like in our SketchUp, very same thing. I want to draw the wall layout all the way around it. And the best way to do that, that's 9 millimeters. And I like just to take a simple, easy way to do that is I take a piece of material, which you'll get, this is wall material, that you'll be using to cut out your wall. And I like to just use this as my tracing, and I'll line it up with the walls. So right there, and that means that's where the wall is going to go. Oops, and then that way you got to make sure you line it up nicely. So you hold it tight, and this is where you guys can work together and trace it out. All right, and then I like to go over here, and this way you know exactly where that wall is going to be placed on your house. And you can draw out the floor plan quite simple and quite quickly in this fashion. And remember, your actual veranda and railing will be a little bit different, and you get the exact measurements you need for your walls as well. All right, so you got your outside walls already done. Now what you need to do is take your inside walls. So I know there's from this point here to that point is 20 centimeters. And so I'll take that measurement and I'll measure it here, as you can see. And from this outside, I'll go 20. And I know it's right there. And I'm going to go 20 down here because I always like to draw 2 lines. And then I'm going to take my square. And I know this inside wall is going to go right about there. And then I can even set up my wall. As you can see, there's nice, good, clear. That's going to be your straight line. And you can lay out your wall. Pretty simple like that. And you continue to do the rest of your house the same way. Let's see, I know from my veranda from here to here is 2 times 10, or excuse me, times 5, that's 10 centimeters, 100. So I'm going to put 10 here. I can use make sure you use this correctly, and that's where my actual veranda wall goes there. And set this right there, and you can see here how this will all come together. And I shared before, notice this. So when I start doing the walls, you got to know where the actual place you're going to start and finish to measure that. And I said on this wall, we'll go ahead and do it right here. On this wall, we'll go right here. Okay, so once you got all the walls laid out, then you've got to consider the doors and the windows, okay? So we've got here a door right there, and we've got another wall to do here, and we've got some windows here, so I'll let you do that. But let's just do a door, for instance. Door is not that critical. Usually we said 25, and so you can go about 10 actual millimeters right here. And then you can actually draw that in there, and you know the door is actually going to be 5 centimeters. And so what you're doing is you're drawing the door measurements right there. So that way you know when you get to that wall, that's where that door goes. All right? So as far as the window goes, you need to do the same thing, because when you start laying it out, so I know there's a window there, and that goes 1 meter, and that means 1.5 meters to the window. So I'll measure that, and that means that's 5 plus 2.5, so we know that, and the window is 5. So we know that where's where the window goes, and make sure you keep that in mind as you do this, is because you know that's where when you start to make this wall, you know when you cut out, that's what you're going to look at. Your window is lined up with your floor plan laid out for the windows, doors, interior walls, windows on the outside, wherever they may go. You measure where they're located. There's a window here, a window there, etc. But measure it accurate and draw it on there precisely.